I've done a few tutorials in the past on my website about fireworks tutorials, basically how to process fireworks. And they're only popular twice a year, Independence Day and New Year's Eve. So I thought, you know what? Let me go ahead and show how to do this because at least for those 2 days, maybe someone will watch this video. And if you go to Walt Disney World, there's fireworks every night, and maybe that'll help you out too. So that's what we're going to take a look at in today's video, how to process fireworks in Luminar AI. Hi, my name is William Beem. I'm a photographer just like you, and I like to take pictures of fireworks. I've been out to Walt Disney World several times. In my opinion, that's probably the best place in the world to take pictures of fireworks. Because if you screw it up one night, they'll do it again the next night, and you've got a chance to really understand how it goes. And plus, it's just really a beautiful show. So let's go ahead and take a look at the photo. I have probably taken fireworks photos at Walt Disney World from almost any angle that you can think of. This one is in the Contemporary Hotel. There's a little balcony out there, and plus a lot of the rooms have balconies too, and you can kind of take some shots that most people don't see when you're inside of the park, especially at Magic Kingdom. You're just right there, maybe in front of the castle or off to the side. You don't necessarily see what's going on. So that's why sometimes for fireworks photos, it's really good to back off and see what's really going on all over the place. I don't care if you're in New York on Independence Day and you're looking at the skyline with the fireworks, or if you're here at Walt Disney World. It's just good to back off every once in a while. That's assuming that you have a chance to shoot more than once. And that's why I like Walt Disney World. I can shoot there anytime, any night, because they're going to be making explosions. All right, so the first thing I want to do with this is kind of give an overall look. And you can see that I've got this one shooting a little bit higher. These are kind of on the same level. Down here at the bottom, there's parking lots and those usual yellow lights, and it's not really doing anything for my photograph. So the first thing I want to do is kind of get rid of this dead space. So I'm going to come over here to Composition AI. I'm going to change this from the original ratio to a 16:9 because that's what I like. And I'm just going to pull this down, and that's going to be my crop. So that does two things. One, it gets rid of the dead space, plus it puts the viewer a little bit closer to the fireworks, which is really what the subject is over here. All right, there's a few things we can do. The first thing I always like to do after I've done my composition and crop is maybe come down to the bottom and look at the optics and just see, is there anything that I can fix just by checking these two buttons, auto distortion and chromatic aberrations? And that just gets me any problems I have. Depending upon the lens that I'm working with, if I have any lens distortion, I can fix that. So I think we're in good shape with just those two things. So I'm going to close this. And now I'm going to come back up here to Enhance AI. It's one of the premier tools inside of Luminar AI, and it just kind of makes everything better as you slide it up. So let's see what that does for us. And I think that's nice. It's kind of brought out some of the red over here, but we can still take this a little bit further. I'm going to come over here to the light tool, and I want to do a few things. I'm not going to play with the temperature. I'm not going to play with the tint, but I want to add some contrast. Not a whole lot. Between 25 and 30 is usually where I like to go. And I can play around with the highlights and shadows. I want to brighten up the fireworks. I want to darken the sky. So I'm going to pull the shadows down a little bit and the highlights up just a little bit. And maybe, you know what, I didn't like the result that I got there with the highlights. I may bring that back over. I'm kind of playing around with the highlights to see if it's doing what I want to do. And quite honestly, I don't think it's really doing that much for me. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to pull down the blacks just to make that sky a little bit darker. And I've lost a little bit of color here. I might go ahead and pop up the whites, and then you can see the whites inside of there. But also I'm going to come down to curves. I'm going to be on the master curve level, not just one of the color curves. And I'm going to do a very slight increase right here and a very slight decrease right there. And that kind of pulls out some of the color and what I'm looking for. So that's all I'm going to do with the light. And let's take a quick before and after look. So this is where we started, other than the crop, and this is where we are now. So we've got a little bit more color pop in here, and you can also see that the optics was helping us out too with some of the distortion we had. I want to change the structure a little bit. So when I come into Structure AI, I'm going to pull this up just a little bit. I want to kind of refine these lines in here. And you could go and do it really way too far. You could add some boost up here. It depends on what you like. I don't feel that's necessary, so I'm going to leave that alone. Next, I'm going to come over here to color. and I want to bring up the vibrance. And again, that's just kind of adding a bit more to these colors. I don't want to remove the color cast because one of the things about fireworks, if you can see all this smoke here, they're explosions, their fireworks are going off. So when you start changing that color cast, let's just bring this up halfway, you pull away a lot of that smoke and haze, but you also pull a lot of the color out of your fireworks. So just kind of accept that the smoke and haze is part of your story, and it's part of what people experience. And if you want to, you can come down here and individually tweak colors in the hue and saturation. And I will do that at times, depending upon the colors of the fireworks. So for example, if these blues aren't coming out enough, I might go over here and pop them up or pull them down to get exactly the color that I want. Same thing with the red is, do I want it a little deeper or a little lighter? And I would probably recommend doing that more with the luminance than I would with the hue. So for example, let's bring up the reds and you can see how that comes up. And we've got some, I'd say some magenta and some blues here. So let's try and bring up the magenta a little bit and then bring up the blues. And I think that kind of gives us a nice little streak of the different colors that we have inside of this image. Let's go down and take a look at our details. I want to add just a little bit of small details, probably not even that much, probably about 15, 16. And I'm going to sharpen. I'm going to pull this slider a long way over. And that just makes all of these little things just a little bit sharper. So let's take a look at our before and after again. So you can see how we've changed from this to this. And really what I'm doing is I'm looking for contrast and color. I want the sky to be dark. That's my canvas behind all of these colors. I want these to be sharp and colorful. And working with those details in the hue and saturation, luminance, particularly the luminance, you can really bring out the colors over here. And I'd say that is probably the most important thing about working with fireworks photos is bringing out the luminance, bring the contrast, and kind of deepening those blacks. And for many cases, that could be it. I mean, I didn't come down here and change the sharpening masking. I mean, we could do that if we wanted to, but I think we're good where we are. And I didn't worry about the details. I don't really want to enhance the details down here. That's not exactly what I'm looking for. But there are a couple of other things that we could do. We could play with super contrast if you just really want to change what's happening in your photograph. So I would start with a highlights contrast and see what happens within the bursts of the photograph and the fireworks. And then you can start changing the balance. So that kind of brings out a little bit more color by bringing up the highlights contrast. And you can change the balance and see how you like it. In my case, I don't really want this, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. But I think that's an interesting option. The other part is if you might want to work with color harmony. So for example, you might want to boost up the brilliance. And then you see we get a deeper red there and also a deeper blue. So I kind of like that. I'm just going to leave that alone. Color contrast, I'm not entirely certain if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, but let's play with it and find out. And that's kind of going to depend upon, I've got this much of amount, but it depends upon the color of your fireworks. And then you can start playing with this hue slider to see if you get a result that you like. In my case, I think that's just really too much, so I'm going to turn this off. But there are times with fireworks, again, it's about contrast and color. And color contrast is an excellent tool to use if you need to get that extra boost for your fireworks. It depends upon the capture you made. Sometimes when you look at your original photo, the colors are kind of muted. And that's why we come in here to do our settings on this. The last thing that I like to do in some cases is add a little bit of a glow. And I know this might seem a little counterproductive if I'm sharpening this. Why in the world would I want to add a glow? And I'm adding about 20. And it's just because I like it. No other reason. Sometimes I like the look of a glow on those fireworks. And that's it. That's my idea of how to process fireworks in Luminar AI. Remember that what you're looking for is contrast. You want the sky to be dark so that you can have bright, colorful fireworks in front of it. Get rid of the dead space like we did here. We did the crop to kind of cut off the areas that we don't need and just present the fireworks as your subject. And I think that'll work out fine for you. It doesn't really take a lot of time and it's something that anybody can do. So I hope you enjoyed this. So if you like this, please come visit me at my website. It's williambeem.com. I'll put a link to that below. And also, if you like this, click that little like button. That tells YouTube that we're doing something right. They'll share this with more people. And the more people who like it, the more votes it gives to share this with other folks. So that's the most important thing you could do is click that like button, and that'll really help us out. Thank you so much. We'll see you again the next time.